time is 6:15. Here is the news edited by Anjana Dodangula, read by Victor Raj. Here are the headlines of the local news. President Wickremesinghe unveils ambitious plans for agricultural and technological transformation. The Prime Minister says China's success in the eradication of poverty is exemplary. The Cabinet approves amendment to Shop and Office Employees Act to allow women to do night shifts. Floods in low-lying areas of Nilwala River to continue. Foreign news. UN chief says clear violations of international humanitarian law is in Gaza. Sports news. The YETI SLTA All Island Under School Cool Tennis Player Day 2023 organized by the Sri Lanka Tennis. Local news in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe addressing the 117th anniversary of the Institution of Engineers has outlined plans for modernizing the Agriculture Ministry. President Wickremesinghe expressed this intention to seek external ministries function in countries like Thailand and Malaysia. The head of state emphasized the need for a well-defined ministerial structure for progress. The President also discussed the next stage of modernizing agriculture, including the utilization of previously unused land, particularly in the Mahaveli area, and plantations covering approximately 700,000 to 1 million acres. Additionally, President Wickremesinghe pointed out the importance of incorporating various agricultural research institutes into a single institution called the University of Agricultural Technology and engaging the private sector. This holistic approach aims to modernize agriculture with a focus not only on education in agriculture but also in engineering. Vice President of China Foundation for Rural Development Liu Wangqi said his foundation would assist Sri Lanka's poverty alleviation program. He gave this assurance when he called on Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena at the Prime Minister's office in Colombo today. The Prime Minister said China's success in eradication of poverty, rural upliftment and ensuring food security has been exemplary. I thank China for magnanimous contributions to the efforts of my country as well as the other developing nations towards achieving food security, he said. He expressed appreciating the President Xi Jinping for offer of continuous support to Sri Lanka during President Ranil Wickremesinghe's visit to Beijing last week. Mr. Liu Wangqi said his foundation has expertise in rural development and it could assist Sri Lanka in its drive to increase rural productivity for the multiple goals of self-sufficiency, upliftment of rural low-income families and increased exports. He said the China Foundation for Rural Development will distribute dry ration packs for primary school children in rural schools in several districts this week. The Cabinet of Ministers had approved a proposal to amend the Shop and Office Employees Regulation of Employment and Remuneration Act to allow women employed in certain sectors to engage in night shifts, the Information Department announced yesterday. Women working in information technology companies, knowledge outsourcing, business process outsourcing, and office performing accounts, administration and technical activities for foreign businesses could now legally work on night shifts, the Information Department said. The Information Department said the Attorney General has approved the draft amendments to the Shop and Office Employees Regulation of Employment and Remuneration Amendment Act. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news. The Department of Irrigation said the flood situation in the low-lying areas of the Nilwala River will continue. Director, Hydrology and Disaster Management of the Irrigation Department, Engineer SLBC Sugiswara said the water level of the Kirindi Oya, which had risen to the showers on yesterday night, has now decreased to normal levels. He added that the capacity of some water bodies may suddenly increase due to heavy showers experienced within a short period of time. Meanwhile, one lane of the Al-Valwai road, which was blocked as a result of tree falling and the mounds of earth collapsing due to heavy showers in Hunuketia, Tanzania, has now been opened for traffic. Foreign Affairs Minister Ali Sabri says the Chinese research ship Shiyan-6 will make a port call in Sri Lanka today. Accordingly, the vessel about which India remains concerned is scheduled to dock at Colombo harbour later today. However, earlier this month, Minister Sabri had said Shiyan-6 was given permission to dock here in November, despite China having showed a port call on October. That ends local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
The US ambassador to Sri Lanka has reinforced the need for fairness in Sri Lanka's debt restructuring in her meeting with the governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Ambassador Julie Chung met with Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe in Colombo, where she also extended congratulations on the IMF's staff-level agreement, marking progress in Sri Lanka's IMF installment. Reinforcing the need for fairness in Sri Lanka's debt restructuring, the ambassador stressed the fact that equal and equitable treatment for all creditors is essential, while adding that transparency from every party involved is crucial. The United States remains committed to an economic landscape that values fairness, transparency, integrity and inclusivity, ensuring stability and growth in Sri Lanka, she posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, on the 19th of October. IMF staff and the Sri Lankan authorities reached a staff-level agreement on economic policies to conclude the first review of the 48-month EFF-supported program. Sri Lanka will have access to $330 million in financing once the review is approved by IMF management and the IMF Executive Board. That came to you on Main News Story.
The Main News Story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, according to the Department of Census and Statistics survey, the unemployment rate is highest among those with GCE advanced level and above qualifications at 8.3%. The unemployment rate for female with GCE advanced level and above qualifications is 4.7%, while the unemployment rate for the female with GCE advanced level and above qualifications is 12%. Female unemployment rates are higher than male unemployment rates at all levels of education. That came to you on Watchlight. Moving on to world news, let's take a look at the headlines. UN chief says clear violations of international humanitarian law in Gaza. Mexico braces for Category 5 hurricane, risk of catastrophic damage. Russia prepares to withdraw from nuclear test ban treaty. World news in detail. United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres has renewed his demand from the ceasefire in Gaza and said that international law was being violated in the war between Israel and Palestinian armed group Hamas. Israel has bombarded the besieged Gaza Strip relentlessly since October 7th, when Hamas launched a surprise attack on southern Israel, killing at least 1,400 people according to Israel authorities. After the attack, Israel cut off water, food, fuel and electricity to the enclave's 2.3 million residents, an act the UN has called a form of collective punishment. It also launched an assault on the territory, killing at least 5,791 people, according to authorities in Gaza, which is governed by Hamas. The U.S. National Hurricane Center said Hurricane Otis reached Mexico's southern coast today, with damaging hurricane winds from the new Category 4 storm spreading inland over beach resorts of Acapulco. The latest NHC advisor said the hurricane, downgraded from the Category 5 earlier in the day, reached land near Acapulco and is moving into southern Mexico, bringing heavy rainfall and flash flooding with hurricane-force winds. Russian lawmakers have approved a bill revoking the ratification of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. The move adds to the tension between Moscow and the West amid Russia's war in Ukraine. The Upper House Federation Council unanimously approved the bill to abandon the landmark agreement outlawing nuclear weapons tests on Wednesday. The Lower House State Duma passed it in an accelerated vote last week. The legislation now only needs the signature of the President Vladimir Putin to come into effect. Moscow announced the October 6th is its intention to withdraw from the treaty to mirror the position of the United States, which has itself signed but never ratified the treaty. To wrap up the world news, let's take a look at the headlines once again. UN chief says nuclear violations of international humanitarian law in Gaza. Mexico braces for Category 5 hurricane, risk of catastrophic damage. Russia prepares to withdraw from nuclear test ban treaty. That ends world news.
Development news.
Power and Energy Minister Kanchana Vijayasakara says Cabinet approves proposal to develop 200 megawatts floating solar project on Samanalava Reservoir. Expressions of interest will be called for two projects of 100 megawatt each from international and local developers to invest in the floating solar power plant. That ends development news.
Sports news is brought to you by Shakti. Refresh your mind and body. Shakti Energy Drink. 350 rupees only. Available at island-wide leading groceries and supermarkets. Shakti. Taste the power.
Association will be held from the 26th of the 29th of October at the SLT Tennis Courts, Columbus 7. Matches will be played under the categories of Red Ball, Orange Ball and Green Ball. Around 1,600 players of 50 schools representing the Western, Northern, Southern, Central, Western and Sub-regional provinces will take part in the matches. The motto of the tournament is I love watching you play. Meanwhile, in other sports, Partha Bandara sets a personal best to win the bronze medal in the F63 shot put event at the Asian Para Games. Partha performing 14.15 meters and Uzbekistan's athlete 14.52 claimed the gold medal, while an Iranian athlete 14.27 claimed the silver medal. That ends sports news.
Shakti. Refresh your mind and body. Shakti Energy Drink. 350 rupees only. Available at island-wide leading groceries and supermarkets. Shakti. Taste the power.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The 24-hour international bicycle race the Pearl is back with a collective of riders from the USA, UK, Australia, Germany, France, Netherlands, Belgium, India and Sri Lanka. Tour de France stage winner and the yellow jersey holder during 2013 stages 2 and the 3, Belgian Jan Bakelants, UCI Pro Race winner Pietre Harwick from the Netherlands and the Srinivas Gokulanathan, who was the first Indian to complete race across America, up the celebrity rider stakes in the race, which is now in its 6th edition. There will also be female riders from India and Sri Lanka. That ends Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news, in the first 22 days of October, Sri Lanka welcomed 77,763 tourists, bringing the year-to-date total to 1,094,019, according to previous provisional data from the Sri Lankan Tourism Development Authority. During this period, the daily average of tourist arrivals was 3,534, showing an improvement compared to the previous week's average of 3,359. The weekly average for the third week of October has also seen an increase, reaching 31,265, up from 23,434 in the second week and 23,073 in the first week. That ends economic news.
Weather report.
Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in the most provinces of the island in the evening or night. Fairly heavy showers, about 50 mm, are likely to some places in the Sub-Regamur province and in Galle and Matha districts. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the central Sub-Regamur and Nugur provinces during tomorrow morning. The general public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by the temporarily localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. That ends weather report. To wrap up the evening news on Radio Sri Lanka, let's take a look at the headlines once again. President Wickremesinghe unveils ambitious plans for agricultural and technological transformation. The Prime Minister says China's access in eradication of poverty is exemplary. The Cabinet approves amendments to Shop and Office Employees Act to allow women to do night shifts. Floods in low-lying areas of Nilwala River to continue. Foreign news. UN Chief says clear violations of international humanitarian law in Gaza. Sports news. YETI SLTA All Island Inter-School Cool Tennis Play Day 2023 organized by the Sri Lanka Tennis gets underway. With that, we wrap up the evening news on Radio Sri Lanka. Back to my good friend and yours, Ramesh Peris.